Hayes walked through the empty corridors of the old space station, his boots making small sounds against the metal floor. The station had been abandoned for 3 years now, left behind when the Empire expanded their territory and pushed everyone out. The Discovery, his ship, had come here to look for old technology and resources that might help the human colony survive another season. The supplies were low, and the human settlement on the outer edge of known space needed everything they could find. The air inside the station felt cold and dead. No one had lived here for a long time, and his small team moved carefully through the dark hallways, checking each room. His scanner showed no movement, no heat signatures, nothing alive. They had been searching for 2 hours when Lieutenant Sarah found something. Heard her call out from the engineering section. He moved quickly, his hand resting on his weapon, ready for anything. What he found made him stop completely. An officer lay on the ground badly hurt. Her armor was broken in several places and blood covered her blue skin. One of her arms hung at a strange angle. Her breathing was shallow and slow. This was Commander of the Empire, one of the most dangerous military leaders in the known galaxy. Knew her face from intelligence reports. They had conquered 17 star systems and killed thousands of humans, had led many of those attacks. She opened her eyes and saw him. For a moment she did not move. Then her hand slowly moved toward a weapon at her side, but she was too weak. Her arm fell back to the ground. She looked at with a hard expression. She knew what would happen next. A human would kill her. The Empire taught their people that humans were savage creatures from a harsh world. They called humans. Everyone knew that humans killed their enemies without thinking twice. Waited for death. Looked at her injuries more carefully. A piece of metal had gone through her side. There was a deep cut on her leg that bled heavily. Her breathing told him one of her ribs was broken, maybe more. She had hours, perhaps less. Without help, she would die here on this cold floor. He could leave her. It would be easy. They had killed many humans. Herself had ordered attacks that killed entire families. A commander of the military deserved no mercy. No one would blame him if he walked away. Instead, made a choice that would change everything. He called out to his team. He told them to bring the medical kit. He told them to prepare the ship's medical bay. Sarah, his lieutenant, looked at him with shock. She had seen the symbol on his armor. She knew who this was. Knelt down next to and began to work. He carefully removed her armor, checking the damage underneath. The wound in her side was deep, but it had missed the main blood vessels. That was good. She might survive this. He worked with steady hands, stopping the bleeding and cleaning the injuries. Watched him with confused eyes. She did not fight him. She did not resist. She seemed to be waiting for him to do something terrible. Sarah helped him carry to the ship. The woman was unconscious now, her body heavy between them. They moved as fast as they could, but carefully, not wanting to make her injuries worse. The transport ship had medical equipment, but nothing like what the main ship would have. Speed was important. An hour later, lay in the medical bay of the Discovery. Doctor, the ship's doctor, moved around her quickly, checking monitors and reading her condition. He looked at with a serious face. The commander was very hurt. The metal had damaged the tissue inside her body. One of her ribs was broken, 2 others were cracked. Her left arm was broken in the middle of the bone. The cut on her leg had been deep enough to reach the muscle underneath. There was also an infection starting from an old wound. This immune system was different from human immune systems, which made everything harder. But she would live. Stood outside the medical bay and watched through the clear wall. Doctor worked through the night, using the ship's computer to understand biology. Machines beeped and hummed. Lights flashed. By morning, vital signs had improved. She was stable. She was going to make it. When opened her eyes again, she was in a clean bed. The room was bright and quiet. Machines around her showed numbers that meant nothing to her, but she could see the readouts showed her body was healing. Someone had cleaned her skin. Someone had wrapped her injuries with careful hands. Through the window near her bed, she could see the black of space and distant stars. She was alive. The human had not killed her. Instead, he had done something she did not understand. He had saved her life. Came to see her on the second day. He brought food, human food, something warm and simple, watched him carefully. She was still confused by what had happened. In culture, an enemy was an enemy. You killed them or you used them. You did not help them. You did not show them mercy. Mercy was weakness, and weakness meant death. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. Gave her water. He sat in a chair beside her bed and waited for her to speak. His voice came out rough and quiet. She asked him why he had not killed her. She asked him why he had wasted resources keeping her alive. Smiled a little. He said something simple, something that made no sense to her at first. He said it was because she deserved to live. Did not understand. In her whole life, no one had ever saved her for such a simple reason. You were kept alive because you were useful. You were kept alive because you could be sold or traded. You were never kept alive just because you deserved it. For the first time in many years, Commander of the Empire did not know what to do. All the rules she had learned, all the things she believed about humans and about survival and about strength, they all felt wrong now. A human captain had shown her something she had never seen before. He had shown her that strength could mean something different than she thought. Spent her second week on the Discovery learning things she had never known before. Visited her every day, sometimes twice. He brought food and sat with her while she ate. He told her stories about the human colony, about the people who lived there, about their struggles to survive on a planet that wanted to kill them. Earth was a deadly place, explained. The gravity was stronger than what was used to. The air had storms that could destroy buildings. The animals were dangerous. There were diseases that killed the weak. Humans grew up knowing that nature was their enemy. Every day was a test. Every night was a fight to stay alive. But humans did not just survive. They worked together. They helped each other. Listened to these stories, and her confusion grew deeper. They had always taught that humans were weak because they lived on a harsh world. Weakness should make them easy to conquer, but talked about strength in a way she did not understand. He said humans were strong because they had learned to work together, not because they had learned to destroy. Days passed and began to move again. First, she sat in a chair for a few minutes. Then she walked slowly down the corridors of the ship with a doctor watching her carefully. The crew of the Discovery looked at her with caution and fear. She was the enemy. She had killed their friends, but no one hurt her. No one even raised their voice to her, had made it clear that was under his protection. One day brought his daughter Emma with him. She was small, perhaps 8 years old, with bright eyes and curious questions. Emma had no fear of. The commander seemed huge to the girl, but Emma only wanted to know about's world. She asked if children had to learn to fight. She asked what's favorite food was. She asked if had a family too. Had to tell Emma to slow down with her questions, but he was smiling. Found herself answering Emma's questions in simple words. She found herself trying to make the girl understand what her home was like. Emma listened with complete attention, as if was telling the most important story in the universe. After Emma left, sat alone in her room. Something had broken inside her that day. Emma was the daughter of the enemy. By all law should have wanted to hurt her, to use her as a tool against, but looking at the girl had brought a memory flooding back. Had a daughter too. Her name was named after his own sister. The girl was 5 years old and had not seen her in almost 2 years. That night asked if they could talk. When he came to her room, she asked him something direct. She asked him what kind of commander he was, that he brought his own child to see the enemy. Showed her a picture. It was a flat image on a small device, showing a girl with brown hair and a big smile. The girl was missing her 2 front teeth. Explained that this was Emma, and she was at the human colony with her mother. Emma had been born on Earth, where humans fought to live every day. She had learned that life was something you protected and valued, not something you threw away. Told about her own daughter. She told him that was waiting for her at the. She had not known if she would ever see the child again. In the military, soldiers had to accept that they might not return. Family was something they left behind when they chose to serve the empire. Listen to her story. Then he said something that confused her again. He said that maybe things did not have to be that way. Maybe the empire could change. Maybe soldiers could return to their families. Maybe there was another way to live. Wanted to believe him, but she knew her culture. She knew the empire. They did not change. They did not show mercy. They did not choose peace. The empire conquered and conquered until they had everything. That was the way. But as she talked with over the next days, something began to shift inside her. Never forced her to believe anything. He never demanded information about military positions or secret weapons. He just talked with her about life. He told her about the colony, about the people there, about how humans valued life. He told her about difficult choices he had made. He told her about times he was afraid. Realized that was not trying to deceive her. He was not trying to trick her. He genuinely believed in what he was saying. He genuinely wanted peace. He genuinely saw her as a person worth saving. For the first time, asked herself a dangerous question. What if the humans were right? What if there was strength in helping others instead of destroying them? What if mercy was not weakness but something brave? She did not have an answer yet. Her whole life had taught her differently, but the seed of doubt had been planted and it was growing. One morning came to her room with news. The Discovery had received a message from the Empire. They knew she was aboard the human ship. They knew she was alive, and they were very angry about it. The message was clear. The humans had 1 week to return the commander, or they would attack the human colony and destroy everything there. Felt her heart turn cold. She realized what her mercy had cost. By living, she had put the entire human colony in danger, would have to give her back to the Empire, or thousands of humans would die, including Emma and her mother. She looked at and saw fear in his eyes for the first time. Fear and something else. Determination. He said they would find another way. He said he would not let his people die, and he would not kill her either. Did not see how that was possible, but she was beginning to understand that saw possibilities where others saw only walls. The command center of the Discovery filled with crew members. Everyone who worked on the ship came to hear what had to say. The deadline was now 5 days away. They had made their position clear. Return the commander or face destruction. Lieutenant Sarah stood next to, her face showing the weight of the decision ahead. She looked at and asked him directly. She asked if he was going to execute and send her body back to the Empire. It was the logical choice. The only choice that would save the colony. Was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the faces around him, at the people who depended on him to keep them safe. He thought about Emma, about her smile, about her mother waiting at the colony. He thought about all the children there, all the families, all the people who had done nothing wrong and did not deserve to die. But he also thought about the choice she had made to answer his questions honestly. He thought about how she had told him about her own daughter, about the hope in her voice when she talked about. He thought about the moment when Emma had asked about her home and had answered with kindness. Made his decision. He would not kill. He would not use her as a bargaining chip with the Empire. Instead, he would try something that had never been tried before. He would send a message to the Empire. The crew looked at him with confusion. Sarah asked what kind of message could possibly stop the Empire from attacking, told them they would broadcast the truth. They would tell what had happened. They would explain why he had saved life. They would offer something that they had never heard before. They would offer peace. An hour later, stood in the communication center with beside him. The entire crew could watch from the bridge above. A camera pointed at them both. Held a small device that would send their message across the stars to the Empire. He looked at and asked her if she was ready. She nodded slowly, began to speak. He explained that they had captured a human colony by force. He explained that the humans had found, and she was dying. He said that humans could have left her there to die. Humans could have killed her in revenge for the people she had hurt. Humans could have used her as a weapon against the Empire. But humans had chosen differently. Humans had saved her life because it was right to save life. Humans believed that even an enemy deserved the chance to live, to see their family again, to choose a different path. Explained that the Empire had built its strength through fear and conquest. But true strength was not about how many worlds you could take. True strength was about how many lives you could save. True strength was about choosing mercy when mercy was hard. True strength was about building peace instead of war. He told them that he was willing to negotiate. He said that the human colony would not be conquered, but humans did not want to fight if there was another way. He said that had shown them the person behind the uniform, and that person was worthy of respect. He said that's daughter deserved to know her mother, and that humans understood that need because they had felt that same need themselves. Then spoke. She told the Empire that she was alive because a human captain had chosen mercy. She told them that everything they had been taught about humans was wrong. Humans were not the monsters the Empire believed. Humans were something different. Humans were beings who could choose to be strong in a way they did not understand. She told the Empire that she wanted to negotiate for peace. She wanted to help them understand that there was a different way to live in the galaxy. She wanted her daughter to grow up in a galaxy where peace was possible, where enemies could become friends, where life was valued more than conquest. The message ended. It was sent out across the stars at the speed of light, heading toward the... Everyone on the Discovery knew it would take days for the message to arrive. They would have to wait and hope. Returned to his quarters and tried to sleep, but he could not. He thought about the attack that was coming. He thought about the colony and the people there. He thought about all the ways his message could fail. 2 days passed. The Empire did not respond. On the 3rd day there was movement, but it was not an attack fleet. Instead, a single ship moved toward the Discovery. It was a diplomatic vessel, one designed for negotiations rather than combat. The ship requested permission to dock, gave the order to allow it. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if the Empire had sent warriors to execute him, or if they had actually listened to his message. A group of warriors entered the ship, but they carried no weapons. Behind them came an official with the insignia of the government, and next to her stood another officer. This one was older, with scars on her face and a bearing that showed authority and power. Understood immediately. This was someone important. This was someone from the highest levels of the government. They had sent someone powerful to hear what he had to say. Gasped when she saw the other officer. She said the name quietly, "Sister." This was her sister, High Minister. The leader of the negotiation council had come personally to the Discovery. Realized that his message had worked in ways he had not expected. The Empire had not sent soldiers to destroy him. They had sent their highest officials to talk. They wanted to understand. They wanted to know if peace was truly possible. But it was also clear that this meeting would determine everything. If he could convince High Minister that peace was worth the risk, the Empire might change its path. If he failed, the Empire would attack, and everything he believed in would be destroyed. The weight of the moment pressed down on like gravity. The fate of 2 civilizations now rested on what would be said in the coming hours. The meeting chamber was set up in the Discovery's main hall. A large table sat in the center with chairs on each side. On one side sat with Lieutenant Sarah and Doctor. On the other side sat High Minister with 3 other officials. Security guards stood in the corners, watching everything. Was brought in, and she saw her sister for the first time in years. Stood immediately and looked at her sister with shock. Was supposed to be a prisoner, but she stood freely without chains. She wore clean clothes provided by the humans. She did not look like someone who had been tortured or hurt beyond her wounds. She looked alive and she looked calm. Embraced her sister, holding her for a long moment. Everyone in the room understood that this moment was important. An official was embracing someone she had come to execute or reclaim. The balance of power had shifted just by that simple action. High Minister sat back down and looked at directly. She asked him to explain his actions. She said the Empire needed to understand why he had saved an enemy officer instead of using her as a weapon. Spoke clearly and without fear. He told the minister about finding near death on the abandoned station. He described her injuries and explained that she was helpless. He could have left her there and no one would have blamed him. No one would have ever known. But he had chosen to help her, not because it was useful, but because it was right. He said that they had always believed humans were savage creatures from a harsh world. The thought humans were weak because they had to struggle so hard just to survive. But they were wrong about what made a species strong. Strength, explained, was not just about weapons or conquest or the ability to destroy. Real strength was about the ability to build, to create, and to choose mercy even when mercy was difficult. Real strength was about caring for life, about valuing people, about seeing your enemy as someone human, someone who deserved to live. Told the minister about Emma, about how his daughter had spoken with no fear and no hatred. He said that was what real strength looked like. It was not a child trained to hate enemies. It was a child taught to see the person inside the uniform. High Minister was quiet while he spoke. She looked at her sister, trying to understand what had happened to her out among the stars, returned her sister's look with quiet strength. The commander was not angry or afraid. She was something had never seen before in a soldier. She was hopeful. Asked what the humans had done to her. She asked why her sister seemed willing to speak peace to the Empire. She asked if was still loyal to her own people. Spoke with clear voice. She said the humans had not done anything to her except save her life and show her respect. She said they had asked her questions and listened to her answers. She said they had treated her as a person, not as a prisoner of war. For the first time, she had been shown that there was another way to live, another way to be strong. She told her sister about Emma, about the human child who had no hatred in her eyes. She told her about the colony, about families working together to survive. She told her sister that they could learn from this. The Empire could become something more than a military power. They could become a civilization that valued life. Looked at her sister with serious eyes. She said that she was still loyal to the people, but loyalty did not have to mean endless war. Loyalty could mean protecting your people by finding peace. Loyalty could mean building a future where young people did not have to spend their lives in military service, away from their families and their homes. Added something important. He said that both civilizations had lost people to this war. Both sides had children without parents and parents without children. Both sides had people who wanted to survive and build something better. He said that the galaxy was large enough for both humans and to find their place. It did not have to be about who conquered whom. It could be about learning to live together. High Minister stood and walked to the window that looked out at the stars. She was quiet for a long moment. Behind her, the universe stretched out in all directions. Somewhere out there was the human colony. Somewhere out there were millions of people waiting to hear what she would decide. She turned back to face and she asked them a direct question. She asked if they truly believed peace was possible, knowing that both sides had killed the other, knowing that there was fear and hatred between them. Answered without hesitation. He said that peace was always possible, as long as there were people willing to try. He said that beginning with mercy, with one act of choosing to save a life instead of take one, that was how peace always started. It started with individuals choosing a different way. Nodded slowly. She called for paper and writing implements. She said they would negotiate. She said that the Empire would send diplomats to the human colony. She said that a proper peace agreement would be drafted, with protections for both sides and honest discussion about borders and trade and the future. But first, she said something that surprised everyone. She said that should return to the with her. She said that before any official negotiations happened, the Empire's government needed to hear directly from about what had changed. The Empire needed to understand that peace was not surrender. Peace was strength. Embraced her sister again, and this time held her with warmth instead of duty. She held her sister like she had thought she would never hold her again. Before the delegation left, approached, she said something in her own language and translated, said that was a leader of rare quality. She said that humans were not what they had believed. She said that perhaps the galaxy would be safer if humans worked together instead of fought each other. Replied that he hoped so. He said that hope was the beginning of all change. Without hope, there was only endless war. But with hope, anything was possible. 3 months had passed since the delegation left the Discovery. 3 months of hard work, difficult negotiations, and careful trust building. But the peace treaty was now complete. It lay on a table in the main hall of the Discovery, waiting to be signed by both sides. Stood looking at the document. 17 pages of words that outlined a new future for humanity and the Empire. The agreement promised trade between the two civilizations. It promised shared technology and mutual defense against other threats. It promised that neither side would attack the other's territory. It promised respect and patience as both sides learned to live together. High Minister stood beside him. She had returned to the Discovery in person to sign the treaty. Behind her were diplomats and military officials. Behind stood the human colony leadership, brought aboard the ship for this historic moment. But the most important moment had not happened yet. Had arranged something special. He had worked with the communication center to create a direct link between the Discovery and the. It was a simple request, but it carried enormous weight. Wanted to speak to her daughter before the treaty was signed. Had granted the request without hesitation. She understood that this moment was about more than politics. It was about family. It was about the future that her sister was fighting for. Stood in the communication center looking at the screen. The image was coming through from the. For a moment there was just static. Then a young face appeared. A girl with blue skin and curious eyes. She was 5 years old, almost 6. She did not know her mother anymore. Time and separation had erased most of her memories. His voice came out shaking. She said her daughter's name. She said, the girl on the screen looked uncertain. Then an adult appeared in the image, an older female who guided the child's attention. The child's caretaker had told that her mother wanted to speak to her. The girl studied on the screen. She asked her mother questions. Where had she been? Why had she been gone for so long? Would she come home now? Answered through tears. She said she had been far away on a ship doing important work for the Empire. She said she had missed her daughter every single day. She said that yes, she was coming home now. The war was ending. Her work was finished. The girl asked what her mother had been doing. Was she fighting bad people? Was she winning? Looked at, standing behind her in the communication center. She looked at the camera that was recording this moment. She said that she had been fighting, yes, but not in the way the girl understood. She said that the most important fight was not against bad people. It was for peace. It was for the chance to come home and be with family. The girl on the screen smiled. She said she would be waiting. She said she would show her mother everything she had learned while her mother was away. She said her teacher had taught her about many things. Said she could not wait to hear about everything. She said she loved very much, and she would see her very soon. The communication ended. Turned away from the screen, her face wet with tears, put a hand on her shoulder. He said nothing. Some things did not need words. An hour later, the treaty was signed. High Minister signed first, her name written in symbols that looked like sharp lines and angles. Signed second, using human writing. Both leaders pressed their hands against a scanner that recorded their genetic signatures. The treaty was now official. Both sides had committed to peace. The crew of the Discovery erupted in cheers. Humans and visiting officials stood together, not as enemies, but as people who had chosen to build something new. saw Sarah shaking hands with military officers. He saw Doctor talking with medical professionals about sharing medical knowledge. Approached one final time before she left to return with her sister. She did something that her culture did not do. She embraced him, holding the human captain in a way that showed respect and gratitude and something close to friendship. She told him that she had come expecting death. She had come expecting to be the enemy to the end, but had shown her something different. He had shown her that being human meant choosing to see the person inside the uniform. He had shown her that true strength was about saving lives, not taking them. She told him that humans were not the monsters they had believed. They were something more dangerous and more powerful. They were hopeful. They believed that tomorrow could be better than today. They believed that change was possible, and because they believed, it was true. Replied that he was proud of her. He said that it took real courage to come back to your people and tell them that everything they believed was wrong. It took strength to choose a different path. He said that was a hero, not because of the battles she had fought, but because she had chosen peace. Left the ship with her sister. The delegation's vessel undocked and pulled away from the Discovery, heading back towards daughter waiting there. Stood on the bridge with his crew and watched them go. The ship grew smaller and smaller until it was just a point of light in the darkness of space. Emma came to stand beside her father. She asked him if would be happy now with her daughter. Said yes, he thought she would be. He said that had learned that mercy was not weakness and that choosing peace was the strongest choice of all. Emma nodded and took her father's hand. She said she was glad they had saved life. She said she was glad the war was over. She said she could not wait to tell her friends at the colony that humans were not enemies anymore. Looked out at the stars and thought about the journey ahead. There would be challenges. There would be people on both sides who opposed the peace. There would be difficult work in learning to live together, but now it was possible. Now there was hope. One act of mercy had changed the course of galactic history. One human captain had chosen to save an enemy instead of destroy her, and that choice had opened a door that could never be closed. The age of endless war was ending. The age of cooperation and peace was beginning. And it had all started with a simple decision to help someone who needed help, even when that person was supposed to be the enemy.